I came across this clip from comedian Rob Schneider, and I thought that it was too wonderful not to share with you guys because he addressed a heckler who had some problems with his act and what he had to say. But I wanted to share it with you guys because he was standing up for free speech and for his right and our right as Americans to say what we want to say without fear. I want to share it with you guys and then I want to talk about it. Take a look at this.
Are you mad? You okay?
No, I'm not. No, he is.
You're mad?
Yeah, good.
That's okay. You know what the cool thing about it in America is? Free speech isn't the speech you like. Nice stuff's not what needs to be protected. It's the stuff that you hate that needs protection, so that somebody like the government or you doesn't get to decide what everybody else gets to hear. Okay? And you're more than welcome to disagree and write an act and get on stage and sell out like I just did. You know? Are you mad?
James Madison, the father of our American Constitution, said that the people shall not be abridged nor deprived of their right to speak, write, or to publish their sentiments, and that the freedom of the press, as one of the great bulwarks of liberty, shall remain inviolable. Now, that's as clear as you can get. Freedom of speech, my friends, and the First Amendment, as well as the other four protections under the First Amendment, are paramount to the preservation of liberty. And I am tired of whiny little crybabies thinking that they can shout down someone for speaking their minds. I've told you in the past that these whiny crybabies are killing comedy and the arts. And here we see an example of that. We see that a heckler thought that he was going to steal Rob Schneider's show. But I think Rob addressed it beautifully because Rob has busted his butt his whole life to create a successful career as a comedian and an actor. And it is important, my friends, that all Americans be free to speak their minds, regardless of whether you agree with it or do not. Freedom of speech only matters when you stand up for the right of the person you disagree with most to be able to say what they want to say. Because, see, free speech is not just freedom to say the things that you think are not offensive. Because offensive speech is subjective. What offends me may not offend you, or vice versa. So it is important and paramount that we stand up for the rights of the people that we disagree with most to be free to say what they want to say and to be able to petition their government. And how dare this nobody stand up and try to interrupt Rob Schneider's show. Rob is hilarious, I believe. And Rob has been very outspoken during the COVID-19 pandemic to stand up for the rights of the American people. He stood up against these lockdowns, and he has been a voice for the American people and the American way of life. And by the way, I think these whiny crybabies just need to get a life because they're ruining comedy and they're ruining the arts. Comedy is supposed to be offensive by nature. As I've told you in the past, if you've been a long-time subscriber to my YouTube channel, it only matters when you're able to say those offensive things. Because maybe after you make somebody laugh, you can make them think. That is what art is supposed to do. It's not just supposed to entertain, but you can use it as a vehicle sometimes to make people think. And I think that's beautiful. I think that we are facing somewhat of a mental virus where people are afraid to think for themselves. They are afraid to question narratives. They are afraid to speak their minds. And people like Rob Schneider are trying to make people think while also making them laugh. And it's disgusting to me that someone in this country would stand up and bitch about it so much that they would interrupt his show. That's why I had to share it with you. If it offends you so much, just get up and walk out. There's no need to interrupt a man's act. That's his way of making a living. That's a way of feeding his family. So if you're so whiny and so much of a crybaby that you can't handle what he's saying, then get up and simply walk out. That's as simple as it is. And I am glad to see that we have people who are pushing back for comedy and for the arts. Why do you think that America has always been able to birth such wonderful things and been on the forefront of innovation historically in the arts, in technology, in science, in all the things that matter in American society? Why do you think that we have been on the forefront of innovation? It is because of that fundamental right of free speech that we are able to explore and to push boundaries and to question with boldness, as Thomas Jefferson said, even the existence of God. For if there be a God, he must surely prefer reason over blindfolded fear. That is what free speech is about. Being able to say what you want to say without the fear of being oppressed by another individual and by your government. And so, if this person is so offended by what Rob Schneider has to say, like Rob said himself, he can bust his own ass and get up on stage and sell out like he did. So this was a wonderful example of someone who is tired of this political correctness. Because I'm here to tell you today, my friends, that political correctness is nothing but tyranny with manners, as Charlton Heston once said. I am tired of people trying to say that, oh, we can't say that because that'll rattle too many chains. That's what America is supposed to be about. That is the freedom that our founders gave their lives for. That is the freedom that is bought and paid for by the blood of our compatriots. And that, my friends, is worth dying for. Say no to political correctness. If you agree with me and you agree with Rob Schneider's core message here, do me a favor. Like the video so that it gets more attention here on YouTube or on TikTok, wherever you're following me. Share it and subscribe to my channel for more content. And hopefully, Rob Schneider will see this. And if you do, Rob, good on you. As a God-fearing, liberty-loving American, I'm proud of you. You keep doing what you're doing.